My son said I was just his dad's wife, not his mom, cutting me to the bone during a heated argument over his latest plea for cash, right after I'd spent decades raising him as my own, only to hear it echo when his fiancée smirked and agreed. At 61, I'd poured 28 years into Ben, bandaging his scrapes, baking his cakes, cheering his wins, only to stand there, phone trembling in my hand, as he spat it like a curse, leaving me gasping, the sting deepened by a stranger's nod. He didn't even flinch, just said, "You're not blood, Diane," while my world cracked, abandoned by the boy I'd loved as mine. It's a muggy June afternoon in 1996. The air thick with the hum of cicadas and the buttery scent of melting cheese. And I'm 33, standing in a sunlit kitchen in our fixer-upper ranch, a sagging single story with cracked plaster walls, a sagging porch that creaked under every step, and a roof that leaked into a tin bucket by the back door, stirring a pot of mac and cheese as Ben, then 3, toddles around my legs, his sticky hands tugging at my faded floral apron, his brown curls bouncing as he giggles at a toy truck. He's crashing into the cabinets, its red paint chipped from endless play. I'd met his dad, Jim, 2 years earlier, a widower with a quiet smile that crinkled his blue eyes, a toolbox slung over his shoulder. His wife lost to breast cancer when Ben was barely 1, me a florist with a knack for coaxing roses from stubborn soil. No kids of my own, swept into their lives after a chance meeting at the hardware store over a broken trellis I'd been wrestling with in my garden. He'd fixed it, hammer in hand, a shy, "Need a hand, ma'am?" And I'd fallen for him, for them, marrying Jim in 95 in a small backyard ceremony. Daisies I'd grown pinned in my hair. Ben in a tiny suit clutching my bouquet, his sticky fingers leaving prints on my white dress. We bought the ranch, a $40,000 steal with a loan we stretched to cover. And I stepped into Ben's world without a second thought. No step in my heart, raising him as mine from that first day, my roses blooming outside as a promise to us all. Jim worked construction, his boots tracking mud through the house, his hands rough but gentle. I arranged bouquets at petals and stems, my fingers pricked by thorns as I bundled roses for birthdays and funerals. And together, we built a life. Modest, messy, real, a patchwork family stitched with love. I fought for Ben with everything I had, picked up extra shifts at the shop, my apron dusted with pollen and regret, my sneakers squeaking on the linoleum as I hauled crates of flowers, my hands trembling as I counted tips for milk, bread, a new pair of shoes when his outgrew the last. Nights, I'd sew his clothes from second-hand fabric. Little jeans patched with denim squares, t-shirts I'd stitch while he slept. My fingers aching from late-night needlework under a flickering bulb, his soft snores a lullaby to my exhaustion. My eyes burning but locked on his face, those brown curls framing a grin that lit my world. We lived on mac and cheese from a box, stretched with extra noodles, library books I'd read till my voice rasped, a TV with rabbit ears flickering Sesame Street through static. But I made it his, baked his birthday cakes from scratch. Chocolate with extra fudge, his favorite, the kitchen warm with cocoa and love. Pushed him on a rusted swing at the park till my arms shook. My laugh mingling with his as he soared. Cheered till my throat burned at his soccer games. His muddy knees and wild kicks my pride under the summer sun, my voice cutting through the crowd. Go Ben, my boy. When Jim died in 2008, a fall from a scaffold on a windy day, gone at 42, his hard hat rolling in the dust. I kept going, alone, my florist apron swapped for scrubs as a nurse's aide, pouring 15 more years into Ben, my brick house, bought with Jim's insurance, a sanctuary of our love, its blue walls painted to match his boundless spirit, or so I thought, my heart swelling with every mom he'd called me, every hug he'd given, a bond I'd forged from 28 years of raising him as my own. Ben grew up quick, too quick, his childhood a blur of moments I clung to like petals I couldn't let fall. He'd crash his toy trucks into my rose bushes at 5, giggling as I chased him through the yard, his curls catching thorns as I scooped him up. Sob into my lap at 12 over bullies who taunted him for his patched jeans, his tears soaking my skirt as I stroked his hair, whispering, "You're enough, Ben." Always, my voice steady despite the ache in my chest. Graduate high school in 2011, with a nod to trade school for carpentry, Jim's trade. His cap tassel swinging as he crossed the stage, my hands stinging from clapping, my throat tight with pride as I snapped photos till my camera died, my shouts drowning out the crowd. "That's my son!" I worked harder, took night shifts at the hospital, my scrubs stained with sweat and antiseptic, my glasses fogging as I changed bedpans and soothed patients. Funding his tools, a $500 saw I'd saved. 4. His truck, a $3,000 pickup I'd co-signed. His start as a carpenter, my bungalow quiet with the hum of the fridge and the flicker of Wheel of Fortune as he built his life beyond my blue walls. I'd visit, arms full of Tupperware, mac and cheese steaming, cookies still warm, watching him bloom into a man, his laugh, Jim's laugh, still lighting my days like it did when he was a toddler crashing trucks. Then came Rachel in 2020 to 25, a bartender with a sly grin that didn't reach her green eyes. Her hair dyed black and sharp as her edges, meeting him at a dive bar where she'd poured him a whiskey and won him with a quip about his tool belt. "She's cool, Diane. Keeps me grounded," he said over dinner at my table. Mac and cheese, his comfort, the sauce bubbling as he talked, his hands fidgeting with a napkin, excitement sparking in his voice, his brown curls now cropped short. I smiled, wary, my gut prickling at her polished charm, welcoming her with open arms. Pot roast dinners, her favorite, the kitchen thick with gravy and the clink of forks. Ben beaming as she praised my cooking with a, "Diane, this is killer, beats bar food." Her laugh too loud, too practiced, her eyes darting like she was sizing up the room. I thought, he's set now, my boy's found his match, never suspecting that match would strike a flame to burn me out, that my place in his life would shrink to ash under her gaze. My 28 years teetering on a fault line I didn't see. The first crack in that bond crept in 2 years ago, soft as a whisper on a frost-bitten dusk, so faint I barely felt it till it grew claws. It was late September, leaves piling in my yard like a carpet of red and gold when Ben started pulling back, slowly like a tide receding before a tsunami. Our weekly calls, him joking about carpentry gigs over coffee, his voice rumbling through my blue kitchen as I stirred tea, dwindled to monthly, then rare as a blue moon, his texts short and sharp. "Busy. Rachel's got a gig. Catch you later, Diane." He'd skip visits, Thanksgiving, where I'd set his plate at my oak table, the one where I'd helped him with fractions, watching the turkey dry out by 8 p.m., the stuffing cold as I waited, my fork tracing circles in the gravy. Christmas, where his stocking hung empty by my thrift store tree, its tinsel drooping like my hope, the gift I'd wrapped, a tool set I'd saved for, unopened under sagging branches. "Work's nuts. Big job," he'd say, her voice a low hum in the background, a sound I couldn't place. His tone clipped, distracted. I'd send cookies, chocolate with extra fudge, his childhood love, packed in tins with a note, "Love, Mom." But thanks came late, curt as a memo. "Got 'em, Diane. Busy, thanks." I'd sit in my kitchen, tea cold in my chipped mug, the one he'd painted with wobbly trucks at camp, missing his chatter, the way he'd sprawl on my couch with a grin, his work boots scuffing my rug, blaming myself. Did I push too hard? Am I too much? My fingers tracing the blue paint I'd brushed for him, the silence a weight pressing on my chest like a stone I couldn't shift. After 28 years raising him as mine, you don't suspect a rift over a missed call. Not when you've bandaged his scrapes, baked his cakes, loved him through every stumble. So I waited. I baked more. I prayed his "Hey Mom" would ring through my phone again. A lifeline I clung to through the growing dark. Last spring, the unease deepened, raw and jagged as a wound reopening under a bandage I'd thought secure. It was April, rain streaking my windows like tears, the roses budding pink outside my brick house, when Ben called, voice tight, rehearsed. "Diane, need $5,000. Truck shot, can't work without it. Rachel's hours got cut at the bar. My savings, $50,000, 28 years of thorns and scrubs, every overtime hour, every skipped vacation, flashed before me, a nest egg I'd guarded for emergencies. For him, my boy." I stood there, tea kettle whistling, my heart sinking, picturing him stranded, his tools rusting, Rachel's smirk lurking in the background. "Okay, hon, for you," I said, voice breaking as I sat at my desk, wiring it. $5,000 gone in a click, my account lighter, my chest tighter, his thanks spilling through the phone. "Love ya, Diane. You're the best." But Mom was gone, a shift I felt like a pebble in my shoe, small but sharp, a prickle I ignored, baking cookies, chocolate, his comfort, to smooth the ache, telling myself, he's stressed, that's all. My hands trembling as I piped the fudge. 28 years too solid to crack over a word, or so I thought, the doubt burrowing like a weed I couldn't pull. My love for him a garden I'd tended alone since Jim's fall, now wilting under a shadow I couldn't name. The real blow landed last month, a crisp September night that still haunts me like a scar I can't touch without wincing. I was in my kitchen, TV droning Jeopardy. In the corner, the kettles hum a dull comfort against the quiet, stirring a pot of tea, the steam curling up like memories of Ben's laughter. When my phone buzzed on the counter, his name flashing, my heart lifting for a second before his voice cut through, tense and edged. "Diane, need another $5,000? Wedding stuff, Rachel's ring, we're short." I paused, mug in hand, the warmth seeping into my palms, my savings now $45,000, stretched thin after his truck, my voice steady but wary. "Ben, I'm stretched. Gave you $5,000 in spring. That's a lot." He snapped, sharp, his tone a whip cracking through the line. "You've got plenty, Diane. You're just Dad's wife, not my real mom. Rachel says you're stingy, holding out on us." My mug crashed to the floor, coffee pooling across the hardwood, soaking my slippers. As I choked, breath caught. "Just his wife? Ben, I raised you. 28 years, I'm your mom." He doubled down, voice cold, unyielding. "Not blood, Diane. You're not obligated, but help or don't, your call." Rachel's smirk hummed in the background, her voice cutting through. "Yeah, she's not his mom. Why's she so tight?" 28 years, bandaging his scrapes when he fell off his bike, baking his cakes with extra fudge, cheering his wins through muddy fields and late nights, erased in a heartbeat, my phone trembling in my hand, my knees buckling as I sank to the floor, coffee seeping into my jeans, my son a stranger spitting a truth that wasn't his to claim, her agreement a salt in the wound I couldn't staunch, my love a house he'd burned with a single match, my identity, Mom, ashes at my feet. The days after were a slow, suffocating bleed, a fog I couldn't claw my way out of. He didn't call back, didn't soften, didn't apologize. My texts, "Ben, talk to me." Unanswered. My calls bouncing to voicemail, his laugh mocking me. "Leave a message." I waited, numb, replaying it, hoping for a, "Diane, I didn't mean it." But my phone stayed silent, my roses wilting outside as I sat alone, the blue walls closing in, my scrubs untouched in the closet, my cookies unbaked, 28 years of raising him as mine, now a lie he'd rewritten with her nod. Pat, my florist friend, whispered over coffee. "Heard Rachel at the bar. She's not his mom, just a wallet. Ben's bragging. She'll cave. Always does." My pot roast sat uneaten, my tea cold. 28 years of love, of being his mom. Now, just his dad's wife. A title that cut deeper than any knife, my heart bruised by the boy I'd claimed from that muggy June day, now tearing me out of his story with a shrug and a smirk. Then came the twist that flipped the script, fierce and bright as a flame in the dark. A week later, Pat called at dawn, voice hushed, urgent over the line like she'd struck gold. "Diane, just checked with my title buddy. Your house, the brick one, Jim left it in your name. Sole owner, 08 will, worth $450,000 now with the market. Ben's clueless, thinks it's his someday." I laughed, wild, ragged, a sound that bounced off my blue walls, rattling the teapot on my stove, the coffee stains still marking the floor by the sink. "You're sure?" I pressed, gripping the phone till my knuckles ached, my pulse racing like it hadn't in years. "Dead sure," Pat said, a grin creeping into her voice. "Yours alone. He's blind, begging for scraps while you hold the whole pie." I hung up, fire surging through me like a wildfire. He'd cut me down, branded me just his dad's wife, erased me with her smirk, but I held a power he couldn't touch, a legacy he didn't know I owned. I called my lawyer that morning, voice steady as steel, though my hands shook with the weight of it. "He wants cash from just his dad's wife? Fine. I'm keeping it all, and he's not getting a dime till I say so." I hired Ellen, top estate shark in town, a widow like me who lived for justice. Her office a war room of files and fight, the air thick with coffee and determination. She dug in like a bloodhound, and the dirt spilled out in a flood. My savings, $45,000 left after his truck, but years of gifts before. $10,000 for his tools, $5,000 for his trade school, $3,000 for his pickup. All me, my thorns and scrubs, bled dry for him. The house, Jim's will. $450,000 market value, mine alone. No claim for Ben. A brick fortress I'd earned with every shift since 2008. Ellen traced it further. Texts between Ben and Rachel, hacked legally. Him. "She's not my mom, just Diane. Owes me." Her, "Tight bitch, cut her out after the wedding cash." Ellen locked my savings, trust set, untouchable. Filed my house as sole property, my name in bold, redrafted my will. Bulk to cancer charities for Jim, a kid's home for my heart. Scraps for Ben if anything's left. A legacy he couldn't claw. They didn't see it coming. Thought they'd bled me dry with, "You're not blood." Thought they'd silenced me with a smirk. Their wedding, a victory I'd fund and fade from. Ben called 2 days later, raging over the line, his voice a storm breaking. "Diane, what the hell? Why lock everything? You can't do this!" I stepped onto my porch, roses fading in the dusk, the air cool against my skin, cool as ice despite the tremble in my hands, gripping the railing as the wind rustled my hair. My brick house glowing behind me. "My $450,000, Ben. House and all. Not just his dad's wife's to give away. Help yourself now. Hope Rachel's ring's worth it, 'cause that's all you're getting from me." He sputtered, voice cracking, his carpenter's grit peeling away. "You're insane, Diane. Rachel's pissed. We need that." "You needed me." I shot back, low and lethal, my eyes fixed on the horizon beyond the roses I'd planted for him. "Where's my boy? The one I raised?" Silence, then a click, his breath gone, the line dead, his bluster folding like a cheap plank. Rachel tried next, shrill. "Diane, undo this. You're ruining us." I hung up, first time ever, her voice bouncing off me, Ellen's words in my ear. "They're broke, Diane. You're free." Words spread through town like wildfire, Pat whispering at the shop, neighbors at the diner. "He called her, not his mom. She flipped it, kept the house." Ellen's evidence hit Ben's inbox. Deed, will, my claim. Ben reeling, Rachel raging as their wedding plans faltered, their bar tabs unpaid. I didn't call, couldn't, my heart too bruised. But I sold the brick house through Ellen, cashed out $450,000, bought a beach condo in Carolina, its white walls a fresh start. The waves rush, drowning out Ben's "You're not blood" echoing in my mind. Took myself to Greece with the savings, olives warm in my hands, the Parthenon glowing gold, healing in every bite, every step along ancient paths. He's out there. Ben, maybe broke, maybe waking to her lies, maybe staring at that pickup with no cash to fix it. It hurt. 28 years don't fade without a fight. His toy trucks, his soccer goals, his mom still vivid in my dreams, that blue house a ghost I can't shake. But I wasn't just his dad's wife, wasn't the wallet he'd redefined me as. I was Diane, 61 and fierce, sipping wine by the Aegean, starting over with a heart too scarred to break again, but too strong to bow. He thought he'd strip me of my title, cut me out with her smirk, but I redefined myself. Louder, bolder, undeniable. My love a force he couldn't erase. My life a victory he couldn't claim. So here I am, months later, watching the waves from my condo, wondering what's next. Ben's out there, maybe with Rachel, maybe alone. I'm strong, but scarred. Some nights, I wonder, did I lose him or free myself? Could he call, begging forgiveness? And if he did, would I answer or let it ring? I don't know yet. And maybe that's okay. What do you think? Should a woman like me ever reach back? Or is this where I stand whole, no regrets? Tell me your take.